Okay, as I was poking around on Aliexpress, actually last week, just decided I probably should do a video on this for those of you that care. I noticed that they had some new TT motors, and they also brought back one of the most popular of the old TT motors. And it isn't just one seller, it was a whole bunch of sellers. Anyway, the new one is the dual axis. I always want to buy it with the dual axis, because if you only need a single, you can cut the one off. In a new gear ratio, they have the 1 to 220 or 220 to 1. And that would be even slower than the old favorite, which became very hard to find, the 1 by 120. Those of you that have followed my channel for the last, well, I've been up for more than 10 years, but let's just say the last 10 years when I started doing 3D printing. The 1 by 120, which is right here, was one of the most popular motors I like to use because it had so much power and the gear ratio was slow enough that I could directly use it for walking robots, their legs. I wouldn't have to add any extra gears to it. It was just the right, if you're running it on 3 volts, it was just perfect. Now, as you know, the most common motor is the 1 by 48. It has less power and turns almost 3 times faster. So in order to do a leg walking robot, you either have to try to make it run on 1.5 volts, which some of the motors will and some of them won't, or you have to add some extra gear reduction. Kind of a pain in the ass. So the 1 by 120 was my favorite, but they became extremely hard to find. No one was selling them. Obviously, they're back again because I found so far 5 different sellers up here on Aliexpress that have them. But the new one that's kind of exciting is the 1 by 220. No, I don't have one, so I haven't actually tested it. But if it's true, that's going to be a fantastic, powerful little motor for walking robots. You don't have to add any extra gear reduction, and you could run them anywhere from 3 to 4.5 volts up to 6 volts probably. The only reason I haven't ordered some of these so far is the sellers that seem to be offering all these different gear ratios don't take PayPal as their payment. Once you get them in your cart and everything, you check, they kind of want your credit card. I don't really like the idea of putting my credit card up with AliExpress. I'd rather flush it through somebody like PayPal. I don't like giving it to PayPal either, but then again, I've been buying things through PayPal ever since they very first existed back in the 1990s, and it's kind of worked out okay. I've got problems with PayPal in that I don't accept payments from other people through them because of what they want to charge me and because they want my social security number and blah, 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 blah. But I still use PayPal to buy things. Let's get back to this. I'm going to keep searching. Eventually I'll find some seller up here that, or I'll find this same product now that seems to be so prevalent on AliExpress on some other side, either eBay or Amazon or someplace. And I'll get some of these and test them out because this looks really fascinating. And for those of you that want to build any of my older projects that are up on Thingiverse, the really fantastic robots that really needed this slower speed and more power to work right, you can still get them. You can get them dirt cheap. In fact, by the time you pay for them, the shipping actually will end up costing you more than the motor. But even though if you combine the whole thing together, you'll go, well, I'm only still paying like $1 to $1.50 per motor. So it's still, even with the shipping, very reasonable. And no reason not to stock up on these puppies while you can. If any of you buy the new 1 by 220, let me know how it goes. If you've got it, put a piece of tape on it, put 3 volts on it, get a 48 to 1. If you happen to have a 120 to 1, run them all side by side so we can actually see the speed difference visually with our eyes and make sure that this is actually what they mean. There's also a bunch of sellers, see right here in the title it says by 130. Now there was a 130 gear ratio motor for a while. It's not offered here, so I'm not really sure why it's kind of named in this deal here, but whatever. Oh, and in the past, if you couldn't get the 120, a lot of the projects I did back then, you know, you can get the 1:90, which is twice as slow as the 1:48, but not quite as slow as the 1:20. But a lot of the older projects will work with the 1:90, it's just that the robot's going to walk right along at a nice little pace. So I mean, you still can build the old projects with the 1:90 in most cases, but now you can get the 1:20 again, and hopefully we'll get to test out some of these here shortly.